Hello, it's Wendy here. It's September 16th, 2020, and this is session 6 of Infinite Possibilities, Instincts, Hunches, Dreams, and Desires. And I'm here by myself today, but I share this work with you through the replay, so I hope you will take it in. Let's actually, if you're watching this, just take a deep breath in with me, right? So that you and I are here together. And drop into this space together as we explore infinite possibilities. And open up our hearts and our minds to instincts, hunches, dreams, and desires. How we can tap into them and use them as we're manifesting and developing, strengthening the art of changing our lives. So the key points there, you'll see, I started with the white screen here. Our key points we'll be talking about today. Instincts and hunches are from our higher spiritual selves. And our dreams and desires are windows into the future. We all have inner senses that guide us. Sound good? And it'll be me talking about it, but you know we do have the Facebook group. So here's my ask of you. If you actually watched this class today, share your thoughts about this. Share your ahas, share your takeaways, your nuggets, your questions in our private Facebook group. Why not? Let's interact in the ways that we can around these powerful conversations. All right, I'm going to stop my share here. So, first of all, I'd like to just share a little check-in about the last week. Last week we talked about taking action, and as I was moving through the week with my action steps, paying attention to being super clear and intentional. When we're developing action steps, it helps if we can make them kind of small and doable, right? It's easier to have just a kind of easy step that you can do and get done and expand upon. You can do more, certainly. You can certainly do more after that first action step of your week. But the point is, we want to feel successful. We want to know that even if it was a small step, it was significant and it was a step forward in the direction, in alignment of our vision, right? And that was the conversation we were having last week around taking action. We got really clear last week about creating a graph for yourself on a piece of paper. You take a plain piece of paper, draw down the center and along the header. You can say on one side, my job, and on the other side, the universe's job. Because certainly there are things that are in your wheelhouse, that are in your realm of control and doability. And you know, some of those things may be beyond your comfort zone, but it's the stretching, right? The stretching yourself to be in action is that kind of testimonial and social proof that the universe needs to go, aha, okay, she's serious. So I'm going to take care of the things on the other side here, on the other side of the paper. It's this agreement that you're making with the universe, and it's your own covenant and sacred bond. with the universe. It's completely unique to you. But when you get clear about the vision, right, that's been uncovered and unveiled, you're the receiver of it, right? This vision is coming from the universe. We're kind of like antenna, right? We pick up on vibrations. And when you pick up on a vision that's in alignment with you, it's going to go, right? It's going to go right there in front of your eyes. And you're going to go, oh, wow. Wow. Okay. That's a potential future I hadn't considered before. And so here's the thing, if a vision gets to that point where you can see it, right? And you can feel the exciting feelings of what it would be like to be in the fulfillment of this vision, right? And we tend to apply the space-time continuum to that, like, okay, so here's where I am right now. There's that vision. That's a really different place from where I am now. I kind of like it. I kind of want to get there. But you project that it is going to take time and consistent action and support and surprises and synchronicities from the universe in order for you to get there. And so that's kind of the covenant that we have set up with the universe or God. Infinite Possibilities is it derives from the work of Mike Dooley, and he's just been very, very sensitive and conscious and aware of folks who are spiritual and not religious. Now my personal belief and personal understanding is that there are foundational truths, universal principles that are foundational to all of the world's religions. And there are some tenets that can be summed up very succinctly, like inside of the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto yourself, right? So it's this: be aware that you're in relationship, that your actions have consequences on others, right? So it's this tenet, the golden rule, and there's others, right? There's some, just some, best practices among world religions, like be honest, be in integrity, speak the truth of who you are, don't be jealous, don't covet, don't be, and like those things are about our thoughts, right? They're about specific kinds of thought habits that humans have around jealousy and covetousness and envy, and the leaning into scarcity consciousness. So even, in the Bible, right? So Mike Dooley's being very careful to delineate that this is a spiritual but not religious exploration. We're not going to be talking about heaven and hell and salvation and how you get there and who you got to believe in and what. None of that, right? Just the underlying spiritual foundation that grounds all of the world's religions, right? So we honor whatever your faith path is, and we don't have to align there. We can align with the foundational universal spiritual principles that hold up all of them. So that said, so our topic today is Instincts, Hunches, Dreams, and Desires. And a few weeks ago, Shelley and I were having a conversation about emotions, and that these are different topics, right? Your emotions are a different kind of feeling and vibration than your instincts, hunches, dreams, and desires. Because your emotions are your feedback system, right? So if you recognize you're feeling a big feeling, whether that's fear or awe or terror or rage, right? If it's one of those big feelings that says, wake up, I need your attention, that's on purpose, right? If we're feeling triggered, and triggering can happen negatively and positively, right? We can be negatively triggered by someone, and we know that we are because we're experiencing a righteous position, and we're kind of judging the other and pointing the finger outward and saying they're so stinky and sloppy and lazy and stupid, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that we're making wrong, that we've noticed and it's triggering us, right? For feeling a big negative emotion that way, that is feedback. That is feedback to where we're out of alignment. And in the work of integrative coaching, which is grounded in Jungian shadow process work, it's about our emotions. That feedback is to show us where we're out of alignment with our integrity and the truth, the wholeness of who we are, right? So if I'm judging someone, if I'm pointing the finger outward, there's 3 fingers pointing back at me, because I'm disowning that I am that which I see, right? It comes back to I am consciousness. So the big emotion can show me where I'm out of alignment. And that can also happen with like super highly charged positive emotions, like if you're starstruck by a famous person you've just met, and you're just like, oh my God, you're so amazing, right? And you're starstruck. They are reflecting the light, the amazingness that you see in them is really your own amazingness. We don't understand that that's what's going on, right? They're a reflective surface, and yeah, perhaps they have a good show, right? That impresses you, but you are, you are projecting your light onto them. So if they seem so just angelic and heavenly and beyond this world and savior like, it's really your own light. It's really your own light that you're disowning and projecting onto someone else, because owning our light is a heavy responsibility, right? We have been shamed about being so bright and high vibrational, and allowing our gifts and our genius to shine forth so brightly. Those who are real busy hiding their own light, they want to make sure that you're hiding yours too, right? Because the light is scary. The light is really, really scary. And so, this work, it's these emotions, they reflect to you where you're out of alignment. And if you're more on the, the fear side, thinking that your light is scary, how can you get back into balance with your faith? Because faith and fear are sort of on this seesaw, and we need to find ways to be in balance with our faith and our fears about the truth our authenticity, our integrity, the wholeness of who we are. So that's emotions. And then instincts, hunches, dreams, and desires. Well, that is where we are there are many of us who are still in that place of we don't know what we don't know. And there are certainly case examples of people who explore the realms of their instincts, hunches, dreams, and desires, and they are the psychics, and they are the seers and the prophets, and we're simultaneously fascinated by them and highly suspicious, right? Because there are powerful manifestors who can manipulate, right? And I think that's the fear, right? I did some shadow work even before I understood it was shadow work. I was taking this art therapy course in college. I was in the middle of a divorce and a life change. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought maybe I'd go back to school and get a master's in education. But in order to do that, I needed to have more undergraduate credit hours to get the loan. So I just kind of filled up with these electives that I'd been interested in, and one of them was art therapy. And I've never felt comfortable. You know, I probably have some trauma about my art being criticized. And, you know, when that happens, especially when you're kind of at a tender age, you tend to just shut down that part of your potential. So who knows, in a different lifetime, I could have been this amazing artist, but it's something that I kind of went in the direction of the performing arts, and that's just fine. But I was taking this art therapy course, and our professor for one of our classes, we went into this lecture on the social mask, you know, the persona. And so our art assignment was to make a mask of who we would just never want to be, right? Just this worst iteration that would just make you so filled with shame and disgust. And I made a mask of a televangelist. And I think I was an unchurched kid. And so I didn't go to church often, but I did have this desire to understand, what all this God stuff and religious stuff was. And, because I was kind of stuck at home being raised by the television, I would watch the televangelists on Sunday morning. And this was sort of my introduction to Christianity, which is terrible. But, and I would kind of go back and forth with that, sometimes I would stop and I would think, maybe they're putting on a show. I don't know if they're really being real. They're kind of acting a lot like show business people. I was watching a lot of TV, right? A lot of soap operas and Charlie's Angels. And, I was starting to get that there's a difference between real life and what's being projected. So when all the scandals with, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker and, all those things, and the corruption and the hypocrisy, and it's interesting, for an unchurched kid, I had a real strong affinity for Jesus, almost in spite of it. in spite of the hypocrisy I was seeing. It's like, yeah, but Jesus is not these people. These people are trying to pretend like, they're the mouthpiece, but I ain't buying it. I was a weird kid. So this mask I made in the art therapy class was a televangelist. And it was a man, very handsome male face I made in that mask. Big smile, dollar sign in the eye, right? And I kind of surprised myself at the personality that I was able to put into this mask of the televangelist. And then, I think the next part of the exercise was to put that mask up to your face and then be the voice of that persona that you would never, never want anybody to think that you are like, that you could be. And it was a very healing practice to be able to speak through that persona. So there, but for the grace of God, go I, right? When we get into our righteous positions and we start pointing the finger, we're trying to distance ourselves from ourself, from those parts of ourselves that we've made wrong or that we fear. When every part of us comes with a gift, and if we can, open, turn to accept these parts of ourselves that we've rejected, we can work together, and you can actually use those qualities for good. use their powers for good, because they're part of you, right? And that's what we don't understand that we can do. We think, because the world seems so segmented and separated, when really we're so intricately connected, right? So I say all this in just kind of the recognition of the work that I've been doing this week, and kind of bringing these pieces together around action and transitioning into our topic around instinct, hunches, dreams, and desires. We are all connected. We're connected in the present. And energetically, we are still connected to those who have passed over. And we are still energetically connected to those who have yet to be born. And so I wanted to share kind of like my personal understanding and experience of that. So this will be part of my check-in, and then we'll kind of, talk a little bit specifically about the key points in the teaching. So my biological father was killed in a drunk driving accident in Alaska. I don't know if the year was 70 or 71, but I was born in 1970. And so I was a very, very young child. I don't believe I was a year old yet. I think it was under 1 year when my father was killed horrifically in a drunk driving accident. My mother, I learned this years later, but they brought her down to identify the car. The body was, the car was so smashed, you couldn't actually get in to see the condition of the body. but she identified the car. And I can tell you that as baby and as a toddler and as a little girl, I didn't have conscious awareness, but I had strong, strong subconscious awareness of all of this. And there are members of my family to this day who will make the comment, oh, well, that happened. You were too young to remember that. And that's their way of saying, this doesn't apply to you. You don't have to take in this information. You don't remember. You were fine. But the truth is, and I know this on such a deep, deep level in my body, in my cells, and my bones, I was not fine. And I didn't know why I wasn't fine. And I didn't have the language to ask what was going on. But even though there's not specific memories, I know I was so scared and confused because my mother was grieving and my father, whom I had met, who had held me, I had heard his voice. I had felt his love. That was my daddy. And he was gone. And mommy was crying. And I don't know what the hell is going on. And I'm a baby. And it affected me on a very, very deep, foundational, subconscious level. And knowing that is empowering, because I know that there is a part of Wendy that, generally speaking, needs extra loving, extra nurturing and assurance. And but here's the thing, even though consciously I didn't know what was going on, there was a stepfather who came into the picture, I don't know when, but within the next 5 years after that happened, because my younger brother was born 5 years after my birth. And I thought that man was my father, and it was very confusing why he didn't seem to like me. So I was maybe 6 or 7 when my mother showed me my father's driver's license. And I came into a possession of him in his Navy outfit, very handsome man. And I put it, I didn't have any boobs or bras, just a little girl, but I wanted to hold it close to my heart throughout the day. And I wanted to build relationship with my father, even though he was on the other side. Because I felt his love. I felt that unconditional love that wasn't coming from the stepfather. Once I knew about his existence, everything made total sense. I'm like, yes, okay, my father died. My father loved me. Like, I knew that. That was just like, it was so strong. I knew my father loved me. And that he was watching me from the other side. And so this is how I segue into this topic about instinct, hunches, dreams, and desires, because I've always had this hunch that he is my guardian angel. And this from the unchurched kid, right? And I want to put it in context with the topic around beliefs and how beliefs are kind of like solidified thoughts, right? Or opinions through which we filter our thoughts, right? They become solidified, they become our righteous positions, like these solid filters, glasses through which we view the world. But there are some beliefs, even though logically you know they're interpretations, they're not tangible, they're not solid. They are tweakable and flexible, replaceable. There are certain beliefs that you choose to instill, kind of install into your operating system, whether or not you have like tangible, physical, scientific proof, like my father's on the other side guiding me, but you install them because you know they're going to be good for you. Whether or not you can ever prove it, you know that belief is going to be good for you, to believe that you've got a guardian angel who's watching out for you. And so he has been watching out for me. He hasn't been able to stop me from doing a lot of stupid things because I was just determined. They were part of my path to make some pretty stupid choices and hurt people I loved and make amends and grow and shift and just refine all of those things. But it doesn't matter if it's true. I've got this hunch that he's always been with me. And the proof has been in some of the messages that I've received just by being open, being curious. What would my father say in this situation, right? And then what you hear, most of the time it's going to be in your highest interest, in a sacred, masculine, fatherly, loving way, whether or not you ever knew that person. So that's the thing. It doesn't have to do anything with reality. Had he lived, I don't know. I don't know. He was an alcoholic. I don't know what would have happened. I know that in this iteration, as the angel on my shoulder, it's been a saving grace. It's been a saving grace to have that hero on my shoulder, whispering in my ear. And I could trust that. I could trust that because that's him on the other side, informed by the universe and his highest self and my highest self, right? Which are all one. So I wanted to give that personal example of tuning into instincts, hunches, dreams, and desires. And going to our first, let me go back to our share, to our whiteboard here. Our first teaching point is instincts and hunches are from our higher selves. We all have a connection to our higher self with inner senses that provide insights, guidance, and information originating from outside our normal awareness. Some call this our instinct, our intuition, our inner guidance, or our gut feelings. These instincts reveal the truth about our life and experiences. So I'm going to share another story about following your instincts, following your hunches, because they're from your higher guidance. So some of you have may have heard the story about there was this original whisper, this kind of like, it was this insistent whisper from spirit. It wouldn't go away. And it was the truth. And that was that I needed to shift my career and get out of sales and develop a form of business and living that was sustainable and balanced and healthy and productive and creative. Like 7 figures was not in that, really like healthy, balanced, thriving, sustainable. These were the feelings I'm really going for, and they weren't necessarily connected with a high number. And it was that instinct that really saved me when I finally started listening to it, right? When I was holed up in my hotel room and I'm reading the right questions, and then I get the aha. That's what it is. It's life coaching. It's taking all of these skills that you have been collecting and working and mastering and perfecting over these years, and to put it into a form of service that the world really needs right now and will pay for. And so that was a pivot moment in my life, but it wouldn't have happened if I was closed down to that communication from my higher self, from my spiritual self. My spiritual self is always going to favor my health and balance and sanity over my success and wealth and income. And that relationship is healing too. It's healing too. I'm ready to shed that story that money is the root of all evil. It's not. The love of money, the worship of money, is the root of all evil. But money is a blessing. Money allows us to help others and to keep ourselves healthy, good servants of ultimate highest good, right? So that is shifting. So there's that. And then there's another story I wanted to share about following, trusting and following my instincts and hunches. And that is, and this will be in the book someday, but there was a chapter where I really failed. I failed someone who was dependent on me, and I was banished. I know that sounds really dramatic, but just in the simplest terms, fired, let go, told to go far away. And that was the most humiliating and kind of painful time in my life. That was a bird. Just hit the window. I hope you're okay, birdie. That was dramatic. But, in those moments, it's like you kind of go into survival mode. And where do I need to go to be safe? Where do I need to be to ground and collect myself and hone into spirit for the next directions? Because apparently this wasn't it. It's sort of kind of, like the pandemic. That's the interesting thing. So this happened in 2013, 2014, for me personally, the rug was pulled out from under me, fell on my ass in an embarrassing, painful, self-shaming way, and had to move quickly, had to pivot quickly to get onto a path where I could not only, pick up the pieces and survive, but could move forward. And when you're not listening to your instincts and hunches and that information from the divine, that'll happen when you're on the wrong path and she keeps telling you to pivot and you don't do it. Sometimes she's got to just pull that rug and say, girl, are you going to listen to me now? I need you to go this way. And it's you got to be in humility. Humility is the doorway to the divine, to that wisdom that is beyond anything that you can know, right? We don't even know what we don't know. This is why the relationship with the universe, by the co-creation and that building that faith muscle and that trust is so imperative, for just living a thriving, peaceful, creative life. So I made a big, quick move. And I went to the safest place I could think of, which was my mommy's house. And she took me in, bless her heart. And in that time, I was able to build my coaching practice from my home office on her ranch there. But after a time, it was like, okay, so Wendy, you need to go be independent again, right? You need to move from this dependency place on mom and kind of back where you need to be, out in the world, not hiding over here. And so my instinct, the voice, the inner wisdom kept telling me to go to the Silver City United Church of Christ. I know that sounds very specific. So yeah, I was co-creating in that, right? I do have, I knew that a community would be really good for me. I was getting really stir crazy, living so remotely. I mean, it was a very, very remote location. I needed some social life, some friends. And so I thought the church, and I had this background with the United Church of Christ, and I did research and I saw there was a Silver City United Church of Christ. And I thought perhaps because of, when I would visit there, I would see the murals downtown and had the sense that they were, a vibrant, creative community. So that appealed to me. I'm like, yes, I went to explore Silver City, and I went to visit that Silver City United Church of Christ. And my car was broken, and there were all these obstacles. But, the universe works wonders when it's in alignment and you say yes, when you stop arguing and just surrender and say, okay, I don't know how. I don't know the cursed how, but if you could open up the how so I could check this out, you're right, universe. This is probably a really good thing for me, for my health, for my wholeness, for my capacity. So the universe kind of lined things up, and then I had access to a car, and then I went in and I met this very small but mighty congregation, very small. I think there maybe 12 people that day. And it's become smaller since then. Small but mighty. And the service was very progressive and out of the box and innovative, and that appealed to me. And that was also the day that I showed up to visit was also the day that their pastor announced that he would be submitting his resignation and leaving at the end of the year. So So I visited in September. He was going to be leaving at the end of December, early January. But in a weird way, it made sense because I had been looking for a community. My spirit had been calling me to find a community. Spirit had been calling me to stretch in my leadership development. And on the day that I show up, the opportunity arrives for me to support this community in their transition as their pastor is leaving. Not that I'm a pastor, but I'm a life coach, and I knew that I could support. And long story short, that turned into an actual paid job that I created. It was for about a year. They employed me as an independent contractor for about $600 a month, which covered my bare basics. And I got to create events and facilitate their services and go out into the community as their ambassador and be enveloped, have a reason, have a community to dive into, to create a home, which was the real healing that my spirit needed. And I couldn't have visioned it any more beautifully or perfectly. It was beyond my imagination when I said yes to my higher self, to what they were saying. So that obedience to spirit pays off 100% of the time. But it takes a lot of faith and patience and trust that you will be supported every step along the way, even if you don't know exactly how that's going to happen. So I wanted to share that story with you. And then our key points 2 and 3. Our dreams and desires are windows into the future of what could be. We all have senses that help us to know the difference between what will serve us now as well as in the future, and what only offers us short-term pleasure. By following our deepest desires and dreams, we inevitably help ourselves as well as others. Dreams are only selfish if you believe in scarcity and lack, believing that in order for you to receive, others must go without. Your dreams come from the infinite, and only by pursuing them can you give the world all that you have to give and remain true to your divinely selfish desires. So I'm going to give you an exercise right now. Pull out a piece of paper. And this exercise is who would benefit. I want you to write down 3 dreams in one column. And in the other column, write down who else would benefit from these dreams coming true. So for instance, if my dream is to build and sustain 6 figures a year, right? And growing, right? Build and sustain 6 figures a year. If that's a dream of mine, who else would benefit would be my children. My children would benefit, and my community, Silver City, would benefit because I'd be tithing all the time. I have built this purposely a simple lifestyle where I have very little need for money. So if I had that much money, I'd be giving it away all the time because I would just be just so delighted. I would just feel like Santa Claus every day. So everyone would benefit if I achieve that dream. So that's the exercise. So in one column, write down 3 dreams, and in the other column, write down who else would benefit from these dreams coming true. And then one more exercise. I'm going to give you one more exercise, and then I'm going to tell you to really dive into the workbook. There's just really powerful exercises that are going to support you this week. But before we do, high five. Okay. I want you to trace your hand on a piece of paper. And then based on who you are and where you are right now, write one fun thing you'd like to begin doing on each finger, on all 5. And then choose one of those 5 things to begin doing immediately and write it on your palm. So those are the 2 exercises that I'm going to leave you with. I'm also going to direct you to your workbook, and it's session 6, instincts, hunches, dreams, and desires. And that'll be the end of our class tonight. I hope you're all having a beautiful evening. And when you watch this, share your insights on the Facebook group. This is how you can engage and share, because your participation in whatever way, it magnifies the experience for others. You are a powerful, powerful example and model and demonstration of this work. So please share what you're learning so we can all learn from each other. All right, stopping the share now. Blessings, everyone. I'll be speaking with you all soon.